Welcome back to class time. We move now to CSEC Geography. I am Clarine McFarlane, and today's lesson will focus on tourism. Let's get into it. We'll start today with a trivia, just to recall what you have done in your previous geography classes. It says, which of the following is classified as a tertiary industry? Is it A, fishing, B, tourism, C, oil refinery, or D, food processing? I'll give you a second to choose your answer. If you selected tourism as your answer, you are correct. All right? We're now going into the lesson. We'll be looking at tourism as a tertiary economic activity. Your previous geography lesson will have you look at food processing as a secondary industry and fishing or farming as a primary economic activity. The objectives to be covered include defining key terms relating to tourism as a tertiary economic activity, explaining the factors which influence the development and growth of the industry in the Caribbean, and we're also going to look at some of the benefits and challenges of tourism in the Caribbean. What is tourism? Tourism is a business. It is an activity. It is a product, not necessarily a tangible product, but being a service, it is also a product in the processes that are involved for it to be offered. Tourism is an experience which involves the movement of people for leisure for a limited time. It is also an act where persons are in pursuit of an experience. In that, as an industry, it caters to the recreation and leisure activities of people who travel within the country or they are traveling outside of their own region. Looking at the Caribbean region, we want to know where our tourists are coming from. I want you to look on my flow map. You will see some arrows and some numbers. Now, the arrows are indicating by their size the direction or the movement of the people where they are coming from. So we have the Caribbean region, we have the United States being represented here, we have Canada represented here, and we also have Europe representing here. Majority of our visitors who are coming into the Caribbean region, they are coming from those main regions. That's North America, to include North America and Canada, which sits on the same continent, and Europe. We also have visitors coming into the Caribbean region from the south. These persons will more so find them in countries such as Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. We call them the ABC Islands. These islands will attract visitors from South American continent as well as those of the Caribbean region. How do they get here? Tourists come into the Caribbean region two main modes. They travel by aircraft or they will travel by cruise ships. Now, these aircrafts and cruise ships that are coming in, they stop at ports. So, of course, we have ports in the main resort towns to include Montego Bay, Falmouth in Trelawney, Ocho Rios in St. Anne, and Port Royal in Kingston as well. And of course, we have two major international airports in Jamaica, which are the Sanchez International Airport in Montego Bay, St. James, and the Norman Manley Airport in Kingston. And of course, other Caribbean countries will have their own ports as well. I know you are familiar with these, so just put that in memory. So we look at where the tourists are coming from. We look at who the tourists are. Now we're going to look at why the tourists come into the Caribbean region. If you are a tourist coming from Europe, North America, or even Canada, what are some of the reasons you would want to come into the Caribbean region? We start by looking at the physical factors. And the physical factors would include the spectacular beaches. Some of these beaches are white sandy beaches. Some of these beaches are black sandy beaches, depending on where they are located. Clear waters, coral reefs, rainforests, waterfalls, and we also boast in the Caribbean unique limestone features, none other that is experienced in the world. We spoke about the ports just now. The ports speak to accessibility. Where we are located in the Caribbean region, we are strategically located just close enough to the equator, just a little distance south of North America. And so it is cheaper and also time effective for these visitors who are coming into the region than for them to go other places in the world. I just mentioned our location and its accessibility. We can also look from there the climate. Jamaica, well, not just Jamaica, but the Caribbean region, we are located in the tropics, and so we experience a tropical marine climate, which is warm all year round, and as such, during winter periods, the snowbirds will come in order to relax and have fun in the different activities that we will afford them. We also speak of the culture and heritage that we have in the Caribbean region. It is rich, diverse, and is influenced by the different ethnic groups that we have on our islands. We speak of ethnic groups such as the Africans. We also have the Indians, we have the blacks, just to name a few. And together, the lifestyle and tradition of these ethnic groups will form a unique culture in the Caribbean, and it would include activities such as culinary practices, the way we celebrate, how we dance, how we sing, how we talk, to give our tourists a unique, a spectacular experience while they are here. We can't talk about the culture without mentioning the people. Tourism is a service industry, and the people are core to the production of what we have to offer. Caribbean nationals are believed to be very creative and friendly. And as such, the service industry, it relies on the population to encourage our visitors to feel welcome while they come. Especially persons who work in the tourist sector or in hotels, they have their own unique way of making their visitors welcome, feeling safe, feeling at home. The political climate also influences visitors coming into the Caribbean region. I would want to say, or safe to say, in the Caribbean region, it is quite politically stable. We don't have much wars or riots. The government systems that are there are quite democratic and involved in the production of tourism as a business and as a product. Other reasons for tourists coming to the Caribbean would also include government support. Most Caribbean islands will have a ministry or an office with direct responsibility for the affairs of tourism, the production, as well as product development and growth of tourists. We speak of ministries of tourism and tourism boards, which their offices are represented in North America, or these countries from which the tourists are coming from. Especially when they'll have global events, you find that our ministers are there representing, selling our country, marketing what we have to offer to our visitors. With all of these factors contributing to the reason for tourists coming into Jamaica, safe to say that the Caribbean, or not just Jamaica, but the Caribbean, safe to say that the Caribbean is indeed paradise. We are next to none. What we offer is quite rich, is quite exotic, and we'll find this experience nowhere else in the world. And that will take us to our next trivia question to see how best you were listening to what we would have covered so far. The question says, which of the following exerts the greatest influence on tourism in the Caribbean? And note the word greatest is highlighted. The options include climate, carnival, coral reefs, tropical forests. Which of these exerts the greatest influence on tourism in the Caribbean? Is it A, carnival? Is it B, climate? C, coral reef? Or is it tropical forest? I give you a second to find your answer. If your answer is B, yes, you are correct. And why is climate the greatest influence? The climate of the Caribbean remains warm because it is close to the equator. We benefit from the sunshine right throughout the year, and it is quite an experience for snowbirds that are coming from extreme temperatures from North America or from the South American continent at different points or in winter periods in their region. All right, so moving from our trivia question, we're now going to take a look at some of the types of tourism. I want you to pay close attention. When you're through watching, I'm going to ask you to recall the person who gets the most correct. I have a treat for you. So pay close attention to the video that you're going to see, which captures the types of tourism. All right, so there were 8 types of tourism that were highlighted. How many do you remember? I hear that one. All right, Tom, go ahead. That's adventure tourism, good for those persons who like the risky business, the hiking and the skydiving and the whole adrenaline rush. Yes, adventure tourism. Are there any other? Can you remember any other? I'm hearing cultural tourism, very good. And that would involve? Okay, fair enough. That would involve persons learning the history and the way of life of different people of a different place. Good. We have religious tourism. Good. These are for persons such as our theologians or pastors, those who are in ministry. They are spiritually connected. Very good. Medical tourism. Excellent. So persons will go, give me a name of a Caribbean country that will facilitate this type of tourism. Cuba. Excellent stuff. Excellent. Then we have ecotourism. Ecotourism. Eco. What would that suggest? Being engaged with the environment, being in one with the nature. Persons that are so enthused. So for those persons who would like hiking, those who will go to the caves to see what it is like will engage in ecotourism. Then we have business tourism. And these are persons who are traveling for work purposes. And we look at that, well, your slide would have, the video that you just watched would have been keen to the details of business tourism. So these persons are not there to have fun, but they are there for work. They are earning while they are away from their workplace, while they are away from home. We also have sports tourism, and this would also engage athletes, as well as those who are enthused by different sporting activities. Can you name me one popular sport that will also attract tourists or visitors going to different countries or coming to the Caribbean region? I hear somebody saying football, very good example. Are there any other sporting activities? Track is another example, good stuff. Swimming is another example, thank you. There's agro-tourism. What would that one involve? Yes, the good old farming, yes. The planting of dasheen, learning different techniques of farming. And of course, there's a new business where agriculture is concerned, which involves the use of technology. So that is also booming in that regard. Can you think of any other types of tourism that were not mentioned in the video? Culinary tourism, yes, it forms part of culture, but it can be seen independently. Very good. Educational tourism, excellent for those persons who are studying and the features of their study are elsewhere, away from home, away from school. In fact, tourism in the Caribbean is big business. I want to talk about big business. Let's look at the numbers. So international arrivals, and we're talking about globally now. Between 2015 and 2019, you would have realized that there is a steady increase in terms of the number of visitors who are going to different destinations. So we're talking about the arrivals of tourists in a particular area, someplace new. They are going there for an experience. So this is statistics that would have been gathered from the World Tourism Organization in terms of the specific, how many people, and we're talking about millions here. We're not talking about 100,000. We're talking about millions of people who are traveling throughout the entire year. In the Caribbean, the statistics is not the same. It's quite steady because we have some rich resources. We have some reasons. Remember, look at some of the reasons why tourists would want to come into the Caribbean. And as such, year after year, even though there's a steady increase over the years, we can safe to say that the Caribbean is a tourist destination. We can also look at the visitors' arrival in Jamaica, and this is between 1980 and 2019. And if you look closely at the line graph, it is showing an increase from 1980. So there is a dip here at 1985, but it picks up again and starts to go up in 1987, where it suddenly falls in 1988. But let us look at the latter end of our line graph into the 2000s. Between 2000 to 2019, the increase has been steady over the years. And had it not been for the pandemic, I'm sure we'll be going on fine in terms of our numbers increasing. We can also look at the stages at which the numbers change for cruise. It is a little bit different because at different points you will have variation of high numbers and low numbers. So we see that as a fluctuation between 1999 and let's say 2014. So there's some amount of grade up and down which suggests that the fluctuation or the numbers would have changed. We can also look at the money that the visitors come in and spend with us when they come into the Caribbean region. They earn big bucks. So over the years between 2010 and 2019, the numbers have been increasing, especially because we have new activities or we have new niche markets or new focus for our visitors who are traveling in the region. And as such, they have different activities to be engaged in, and they are going to pay to be engaged in these activities. We also look at support activities, those that support or linkages, those that support or those that rely on the tourism industry in order to earn their money. We'll look at that in a little while. Having realized that tourism is big business for the Caribbean region, let us now look at tourism in Barbados. And this is just a short case in terms of what is being offered in Barbados. So look at why visitors will come to the Caribbean region. So let us put those factors into perspective. So highlighted is a map of Barbados, and I want you to pay attention to the key. The areas that are highlighted blue are showing the main urban area of Barbados, and that would be Bridgetown. Those areas that are highlighted orange would be the main tourist areas. We refer to them as the resort towns or the resort areas. Those that are highlighted pink, which is just this small dot in Bridgetown, is where you'll have shopping villages, historic sites, sporting facilities such as the Oval Park. The Oval Park is used for which sport again? Chris Gale is of what sport? Good. Cricket, good, right? And we also have ports for ships to dock here. So notice we also have an airport. Remember, we talk about accessibility. Good. So the airport will facilitate that. There are natural attractions in Barbados, which would include well-maintained beaches and limestone features such as the Harris Cave and Welchman Hall Gully. These are developed and well-maintained to support the tourism industry in Barbados. We already spoke of accessibility, having access to ports such as cruise ship ports, as well as the airport to facilitate travel from North American countries. And because of where Barbados is concerned, we can also include South American countries as well. Other reasons why persons would want to visit Barbados or to be a tourist in Barbados is the Crop Over Festival. The Crop Over Festival in Barbados marks the beginning of harvest. This event, it attracts thousands of visitors on a yearly basis to celebrate. There are historic parks and buildings that are maintained, meaning they scrub down the walls of these edifices, these buildings, because they mark historic milestone of Barbados. These buildings or these parks are well preserved and they are restored at different points. They are maintained frequently in order for them to look nice when we go there to look at them. Sports such as fishing, golf, Richmond sport, tennis, cricket, each year will bring thousands of people to Barbados just to watch or those who are participating in these sporting activities. We're still on the factors that are attracting persons into Barbados. We speak of accommodation. In Barbados, just like Jamaica, you have different forms of accommodation to suit your economic lifestyle. So you have the option of staying at an Airbnb, you have the option of staying at a villa, you have the option to stay at a 5-class, 4-class, or even 10-class hotel if you choose and you have the money. And the trick about this, many of them are locally owned by the locals of Barbados. We also have other businesses that are supported by tourism industry and are supporting the tourism industry. We speak of activities such as transportation. So those persons who have established car rentals, those persons who operate taxis to move the visitors from their hotels or from their point of stay to the different attractions. We speak of bars and restaurants where they can have authentic food to the tradition and culture of Barbados. We also have duty-free shops and nightclubs. When you're on a vacation, who don't want to let down your hair and have fun, of course, and have a party from time to time? Those are also afforded. Examples would include Old Town and St. Lawrence Gap, which are lively and attractive. Now, in Jamaica, can you name me one place, one location that is as lively and as attractive as those that were mentioned here? I give you a hint. Think Mobe. The hips trick is correct. So those persons or most visitors, when they come to Montego Bay, for example, they hear about the hip strip and the different offerings that are there for them to keep them occupied while they are at stay. There's also government support in Barbados. So remember, I mentioned that most Caribbean islands, they have a specific ministry, a specific portfolio for the tourism activity. They are responsible for the planning and development of the tourist product that is being offered in the country. So Barbados has their very own Barbados Tourism Authority, and there is the Hospitality Institute that supports the marketing and development of this product. It is by this the government takes responsibility for the maintenance of the infrastructures that are put in place to build the tourism industry in Barbados. This would include airports, seaports, the roads that will lead in and out of the resort towns and areas where tourists are accommodated. The government also takes responsibility to promote events that are offered on the island. They are also responsible for educating people about the offerings that are there on the island, as well as training persons to partake in the tourism industry. So now that we have looked at Barbados, we now look at Trinidad and Tobago. What is tourism like in Trinidad and Tobago? In Trinidad and Tobago, or Trinidad being the parent country of both, or the twin republic as we would call them, it's not the typical tourism destination. This means it is not about the leisure as we would know it, or just to relax as we know it. They are more so focused on business. So majority of the persons who are going to Trinidad are going there for business ventures. They may be going there for work conferences or meetings. If for any reason they will go to Trinidad and Tobago as a state, they would more so go to Tobago for leisure activities. You have persons going to Trinidad to visit their family and friends. And this accounts for the largest group of tourists that are going on the island. So of course, instead of staying in hotels most of the time, they will stay with their families or their friends. And some of us, when we travel to some first world country, this is a form of engagement that we are a part of. We will stay with our families instead of going to a hotel. persons would want to go to Trinidad for culture. And when we think of culture, there's one thing every year that persons look forward to when they visit Trinidad, and that is Carnival. But Carnival is not the only reason why persons would want to go to Trinidad. Persons would want to go to enjoy the Holly Fest or the Easter enactment. For us, we are the chief destination for reggae and related activities or dancehall related activities. In the Caribbean, we have Trinidad for jazz festival or jazz music or that sort of celebration. As I mentioned before, for leisure activities, the beaches of Tobago are reserved for leisure activities. They are well maintained to facilitate scuba diving. Persons who would just want a suntan or a sunbath, they will more so go to Scarborough or the Boca Reef of Tobago. Then we have our cruise ship passengers. Seeing that Trinidad is located in the south of the Caribbean region, most of the persons, or it is easy access for tourists who are coming from which continent again? Remember, we looked at our map earlier. Where are they coming from? That's right. They are coming from South America. Good. So when they visit via the cruise ship pier, some of them will just visit there for a couple hours. They don't stay there. So being in the south of the Caribbean, it is a route, and on that route, they will have access to Port of Spain, which is one of the main tourist destinations in Trinidad. I want you to look on my map. And my map is in colors. It highlights the northern range of Trinidad, and the northern range accounts for the highest point in Trinidad. Or all those areas that are highlighted dark green are highlands. So in these areas, they are natural reserves which provides a habitat for wildlife, unique flora and fauna that are found nowhere else. Those areas that are highlighted yellow, we don't see any on the coast of Trinidad, but we see a good stretch on the coast of Tobago, highlights beach vacation. So those persons who are interested in the traditional tourism activity, which is sunbathing or the sea, the sun, and the sand, they will more so go to Tobago. Those who will go for nature lodges or hikes, they will go to Trinidad, of course, which affords them that access. So the nature of tourism or the nature that is there in Trinidad affords persons to view unique animals, to include butterflies, to include ocelots, and I'll show you what that looks like in a little while. It will also have unique species of birds as opposed to other things that we would have had unique to our culture here in Jamaica. Yachting is a thing in Trinidad. And we know of our own yacht club along the Palisadoes Strip. Now in Trinidad, you have over 1,500 yachts. Or you will have sporting activities that will have yacht race. Or you may want to go on the yacht for a day or just a day at beach with your friends. That is also afforded in the Chagaramas marinas. And it is an event. It is a thing for persons or visitors of Trinidad and Tobago. So that is an image of what the ocelot looks like. It is a South American leopard. So we spoke of reasons why persons will come to the Caribbean region, and we look specifically at Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados as two different territories. At this time, we'll now look at the benefits of tourism to the Caribbean region. The tourism industry in the Caribbean, it is the most important source of foreign exchange. Foreign exchange, hint, money. So the Caribbean countries benefit significantly in terms of earning big bucks that are then used to make purchases on the global market. We also look at the benefit of labor or providing employment. So the industry affords jobs for persons who are well educated, persons who are skilled, whether they have direct contact with the tourists or they serve the tourists indirectly. Labor intensive suggests, or as was previously mentioned, that the tourist industry, it has a heavy demand on customer service. So the interaction with people is constant. It never ends. So at every point in the industry, we have someone that is making an offer, who is accommodating the tourists right throughout their experience. We look at the benefit of profits. Profits are earned from taxes that are put on flights, or departure taxes, or when they buy their airline ticket, they would have to pay taxes, or when they make purchases on the local market, they're going to the supermarket to grab a water, taxes are on those items as well. These profits are used for the maintenance of the facilities that are in and around the tourist resort towns and the tourist areas. So the money is used to fix road. You ever see a pothole in a road that leads to a tourist resort area? Think about it. Do you ever hear of a blackout in a hotel? Think about it. So the money that is generated, or the profits that are earned from the taxes that tourists will have to pay, is used for the maintenance of ports, the maintenance of the roads that lead into and are around the tourist resort towns, and they also use to cover the expenses of social services that are afforded by the government. We're still on the benefits. The tourism industry, it is an economic linkages. I've been speaking about this from earlier on. A linkage means that it provides support for smaller business. So these small business, they provide support for the industry, and they are supported by the industry. Think about our farmers. Hotels need food to give their guests. There's no way you can accommodate your guests and you don't offer them at least water. So in this sense, the hotels are affording, or especially those that are giving all-inclusive packages, tourists are guaranteed something to eat. And if you don't mind, they eat right around the clock. With that being said, some of the fruits and vegetables that are afforded to them are from our local farmers. That's all the time we have for today.